Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I want to get this straight. Worthless mobs can burn, loot, and beat up people, but a husband and wife are arrested for standing up to these vermin that have trespassed and broken into their property. Huh. We are really in trouble in America. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, I hope. And a Patriot will call in for our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, Patriots, on a Tuesday. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to our program this morning. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a very safe, clean environment and, of course, the best in tires. Along with our friends, and I was over there yesterday, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sean, you are really low, and I'm not hardly getting anything in my headsets on the feed line, so that's got to be boosted up. If you would, please. I could barely hear you, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Calls are welcome and appreciated, and we're going to go to the weather forecast real quick, and that's brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Absolutely easy to find, and they've got the best of tools and equipment for you. Right there in their front yard, man. It's all there. Everything you need for all kinds of jobs, all kinds of tasks that need to be taken care of. And they've got the rental on this equipment for both long and short term. All you got to do is just stop in or give them a call. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather. And one more time, here's Gina with the weather.
Another warm day, and then we're going to be into a fire weather watch. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies and a high of 92 is what we're looking at. A little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 61. For tomorrow and for Thursday, we are going to be in a red flag warning and a fire weather watch, as we do have some late afternoon and early evening rain showers and thunderstorms. Partly sunny skies for tomorrow, expecting a high of 90 with an overnight low of 60. Then for Thursday, looks like mostly sunny skies. Still a slight chance of some late afternoon thunderstorms, high of 90 with an overnight low of 57. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. It's going to be warm, and we may get a little bumper in the evening and the late afternoons of rain and thunder showers, but it's not too bad. It's summertime. Caller, I'll be right there. Weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. As I say, every day on the Burley-Paul Highway, you can't possibly miss them. Roger and the crew are there early in the morning to help you at the number 2 to call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Want to remind you again about our dear friends, and they have been for years and years and years, and that's Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in in Burley. Yes, they get there early in the morning and they start cleaning clothes and taking care of your clothes and washing your clothes. Oh my goodness, they really take care of you. So you look good. You look good. Stop in and see them today at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy and the rest of the folks at Daryl's Cleaners serving you. One quick note, too, I want to give a great big shout-out to Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they've been with us a long, long time on this program, and as you know, almost 7 decades of service to you. 7 decades, man, I'm telling you, almost as old as I am. And I'll tell you, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and the number to call, 678-0459. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs are right there and ready for you. 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers with the highly trained people serving you at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, I thank you for your time and your call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. It appears that Black Lives Matter and Antifa are using the same tactics that the drug cartels are using in Mexico: fear, intimidation, and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they've just also joined together to attack America from all over.
Well, you're going to see more of it. It's going to get worse. And Black Lives Matter is going to be pushing hard on a full-court press to get the press on TV, radio, newspaper, and everything. And we are going to be subjected to their evil Marxist communist ways, and we're going to have to stand up. I'm never ever going to capitulate on this program and say anything good about an organization that is absolutely fraught with people that want to do away with our country and our Constitution. So all of us, you, Mary, myself, my wife, everybody, are going to have to stand up and tell it like it is.
Well, I think there's a meeting coming up, get-together, the first Saturday of August down here at the park in Twin Falls.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens there.
Absolutely. You know, Tony, of all the people that call, you are one of the most prominent for standing up and saying and speaking your mind, and I really respect you. And we need more folks like you. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
I just hate to see America destroyed, and it makes me feel grateful that I'm 91, don't have that much time left.
I'll tell you what, and if anybody hasn't...
I feel that way, but that's the way it is.
If anybody hasn't met this man that I'm talking to, at 91 years of age, he looks younger than I do. I'll tell you what. God bless you, Tony.
You haven't seen me lately.
Okay. Thank you for your call, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. I got to tell everybody about our friends at Dino Septic Service. Oh, they do the job that you and I don't want to do, and they've got all kinds of new equipment, too. You know, they got one of those cameras that goes down through the piping and the tubing and finds out what the problem is. Ooh, yes, it does. And they take care of all your septic tank pumping and your septic inspections, liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain line cleaning. Oh, my. They're the best. They are great people to work with. I know because they've helped us on a couple of occasions. Dino's Septic Service at 436-6526 or 678-1638. Best of fast, fare, friendly service with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Ted.
Yes, sir.
You know, yesterday on the news, I don't even know what source it was, but they were talking about a cashless society. And this just infuriates me to think that we cannot use money to buy things, at least cash. But the biggest problem is, I think, will be with our young people who have these credit cards, and a card means you get all the money in the world, but if you got cash in your wallet, that's what you got, and that's what you spend.
Keith, well, my thoughts are I don't want to have a cashless society. My thoughts are that once you have a cashless society, you have complete control over people, you have complete knowledge over their banking accounts, you have complete thumbs-on control regarding every transaction that goes on in the world. I don't like it. I won't adhere to it. I'll fight it as much as I can. I think it's absolute idiocy, and I think it's an Orwellian attitude to, like I said a moment ago, take more control over all the people.
Good job. Just the way I looked at it.
Well, that's the way it is. I mean, there's a right, there's a wrong, and there's a gray area, and I don't play in the gray areas. If I want to go play in the sandbox, I'll play in the sandbox, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And anytime we go to a completely cashless society, we are a society that's absolutely controlled by government and Big Brother, with the Illuminati looking over our shoulder and knowing everything that we do.
You know, it's amazing how many young people don't understand cash. I mean, they work at McDonald's or someplace like that, and you give them cash, and they just shudder because they got to give you change back or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they'll be easy to be sucked in.
Well, I tell you, Keith, there's so many things going on in this world today that, thank God, and I mean that for people like you and Nancy and others, that are still cognizant of what's going on, and we can fight back and verbally keep thrusting at the windmill, which I'm going to do. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. I got to tell everybody about Denny's Restaurant. You know, this is a treat because we're going to be over there on this Thursday, day after tomorrow, for lunch bunch. Please, I've had calls. It's going to be this Wednesday. It's going to be at Denny's. It's going to be at America's Diner. It's going to be at 11:30. We're going to be there. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I'm looking forward. I'm going to have my usual, and Deanne's going to have her strawberry crepes. Oh, she loves that. Absolutely going to be a lot of fun, great food, and nice people serving us at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and it's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Real quick, too, the Minidoka County Fair is going to be off and running this next week. Oh, these are good people. They're going to have a Tiny Tot Gymkhana. That's going to be Tuesday night next week at 6 p.m. On Monday night, they're going to have the lawnmower races. And then let's see what's going on the rest of the week. They're going to have Dutch Oven Cobbler and Ice Cream Social on Wednesday night. Ooh, ripping good. And then towards the end of the week, they're going to have an open rodeo on Friday and Saturday. All of this at your great Minidoka County Fair. All American flair at the Minidoka County Fair. Don't you miss it next week. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jebber. The menu at the Burley Senior Center today is chicken Alfredo and all of the trimmings. And we need you to show up there. You don't have to be a senior to come and eat at the Burley Senior Center.
You know, Joe, I got to ask you a question. You are a world traveler. You are an excellent real estate man, and you've farmed and everything. Have you ever really sat down and thought and pondered as to how they came up with the various names for food like chicken Alfredo?
I didn't ask anybody because I probably couldn't comprehend it if they told me.
Okay, we'll send everybody over to the Senior Center, Joe. God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all
right.
you do for us.
Thanks, Joe. Wonderful man right there, Joe Taylor. God bless him. I've often wondered that, like chicken Alfredo and all these names and certain nuances that they give the various foods. I'd like somebody to tell me how that all came about. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Okay, I've had a lot of phone calls, and I'm going to say this. I tend to not want to get on the radio because it's easy for me to brag about my grandsons because they're wonderful boys and I love each and every one of them. But in the case of my two older grandsons, Dawson and Jackson, that are competing back at the National Finals High School Rodeo in Guthrie, Oklahoma, they are sitting pretty good in the team roping. They were 8-7 on their first steer, and they take their second steer tonight, and we'll see how they fare in go-round number 2. Hopefully, to gain a berth into the short round for the national championship. So I'll keep you posted, and we'll let you know how they're doing. I'm very, very proud of all my grandsons, but in this particular instance, Dawson, the oldest, heading for Jackson, and they got a good shot at the national title. Oh my, don't forget Rioters Showcase. And of course, Rioters Showcase, I'll be right there, caller, located at 2611 Oberlin Avenue in Burley. Oh my goodness, they're having an indoor tent sale. What does that mean? You just go indoors and save money. Holy cow, they've got great deals in the bed department. And they've got Minikash's Best Sleep Center with over 30 beds to choose from. And they've got mattresses that you're just not going to believe, like a deluxe queen mattress starting at just $4.99. And great deals on appliances, 12 months, same as cash. You better check it out today. Rioters Showcase, indoor tent sale, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Do these Antifas and these violent protesters, do they even know what they're protesting for anymore? Or is it just because they want to cause hate and destruction?
No, Donna, I think you know the answer to that. Of course they do. And they're very well orchestrated, a very well-oiled machine. Did you see, and I'm going to put the onus on you right now, did you see the video of what transpired in Chicago with the rioters that were trying to tear down the Christopher Columbus statue? And the police showed up, and then did you see the ensuing tape of how the weapons were passed out to the rioters to go after the police?
Yes, I did, and it was disgusting.
It's terrible.
I also saw a video going along with that of the police starting to tape back. I believe it's part of Chicago, where they came in with tear gas. Yeah. And they pushed the protesters out, and they were boo-hooing and bawling because they didn't get to finish their agenda, whatever it might be.
The Chicago mayor, I'm going to interrupt you right there, because this woman is absolutely ridiculous and asinine and juvenile. Her name is Lori Lightfoot, and the name should be Light Mind. She absolutely has no concept of safety, and she actually came out and called these mobsters patriotic vigilantes. She's taken the side of violence over the side of the police, and the police were absolutely subjected to some of the most horrific bombardment of articles that you've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. No, she needs to be out of office. All of those Democrats in those states back there that are condemning the police department, and I can't remember which one it was, said they were going to defund their police department, and they had cut billions of dollars. Are they going to go without their bodyguards? Are they going to go without police protection in their gated communities? Oh, heck no. So why are they subjecting the good people of their communities to this violence and disruption of their lives?
When I saw on the tape the distribution of the shivs. You know, a shiv is a homemade type knife, and these were made out of PVC pipe. And on one of the tapes, you can see one of these absolutely worthless vermin taking a bag and emptying these shivs that they were going to use to stab the police on the ground, and people gathering them up. And then the frozen water bottles, the rocks, and all the other material that was provided, baseball bats, etc., to go after the police. Honestly, Donna, I think it's time for bloody noses and billy clubs, and we've got to restore order.
Oh, I'm for tasers, whatever it takes, canines, whatever it takes, to get these creeps off of our streets and take our country back.
How would you
need to stand up and say, okay, enough is enough, dadgummit, we're done.
Yeah. How would you like to be living right there on the perimeter? Let's say that you're living on the street right across from a park, okay? And how would you like to be living there on a July evening, and maybe you want to go out and walk your dog, maybe you want to go over and visit with the neighbors, maybe you just want to sit on your front porch and have a cold glass of lemonade or whatever, and you've got this going on, which endangers everyone's life, endangers everyone's property, and it goes on and on night after night. Like in Portland, now 54 nights of this foolishness. This is asinine.
I'd be in jail, Zeb.
I'd be there with you.
Yeah. You know, I feel for that I can't remember their names, that were protecting their property.
Yeah, the McCloskeys.
Kennedy last night, and I admire the governor saying that he would pardon them if by chance, and he was condemning the mayor, who is the attorney, gosh, I'm a little lost for words, imagine that. The prosecutor who is trying to find something to prosecute them on. They didn't do anything wrong. They were standing up for their Second Amendment rights. They were standing up to protect their lives, their family, their home. They didn't do anything wrong. Why don't they arrest the creeps that broke down their fence and threatened them? You could see them walking back and forth.
Well,
they were telling them, you know, whatever it was they were telling them, to get off my property.
Yeah, now, here's the situation.
Taunting them.
Here's the situation with that.
That just pisses me off.
Here's the situation with that black prosecuting attorney, and she's going to get, I hope, her comeuppance, and I would love to see her replaced. She is going to be charging, and she did, the husband and wife with a felony count of unlawful use of a weapon. That is the charge that she hung on the husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. McCluskey. Now, the governor said he would absolutely throw this out, which it should be, but the cost and the mental anguish and everything that's been given to and provided to the McCloskeys when they did nothing wrong other than standing there in total fear for their property and their lives. If we're going to be living in that kind of a situation, in that kind of America, we are all doomed, because America cannot stand if we're going to let the vermin and the mobs take over.
Oh, I totally agree. And like I said, if I lived back there, I'd already be in jail.
Well,
I would apply the 3 S's, plain and simple.
I know what you mean, and thank you for your call. Thank you, Donna.
Yep,
God bless. Yeah, this is unbelievable to think that this black prosecuting attorney, who has had a record of doing this kind of thing very racially in the past, is going to be applicable with charges of a felony to the McCloskeys. Let me ask you folks out there, and I don't care if you're liberal, I don't care if you're conservative, I don't care if you have no affiliation whatsoever. Are you going to allow people to break into your property, break through a steel gate, and threaten to kill you, your dog, burn your home? And are you going to stand there and go, oh, well, dear, look, we've got some passersby going through the neighborhood. Aren't they nice people? Gee whiz. No, you're going to be scared to death like the McCloskeys were, and you're going to go get a gun and you're going to stand there until these vermin decide to leave. The McCloskeys did nothing wrong. And yet the racial tones of this black prosecuting attorney going after them with a felony to put them in prison for protecting their lives in their own home, this is asinine. And not the America that I was born and raised in. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We've got trouble, and we better admit it. Don't forget, a lot of folks are welcoming you to the Minidoka County Fair next week, including Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-1722. They're just off the square. You can't miss them. Really good people. And they've got all your flooring needs. The carpet, the hardwood, the vinyl, the laminates, tile, everything. You get a hold of them today. And they say, come on over to the Minidoka County Fair, Magic Valley Carpet. Really nice people. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Honestly, when you look at Portland and you look at Chicago and you look at Seattle and you look at other cities around our country, with the fire bombs and the shivs made of PVC, the frozen water bottles, the rocks, the bricks, and everything. And then you have dim-witted mayors that basically are taking the side of the people that are creating the havoc and the hazard in our society. What's going on here? What is going on here? 54 nights. 54 nights in Portland, Oregon. Business owners and residents absolutely should be clamoring to go up the stairs into the mayor's office or whatever and take him out of office. Remove him from office. Ted Wheeler in Portland is absolutely a pimple on society's face and should be removed. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, and I've got to say this. I listened intently yesterday. Now, for those of you that are Democrats, for those of you that are liberal, and for those of you that hold in great esteem your Joe Biden for presidency campaign for this year, wow, be honest with yourself. Have you really sat down and listened to the guy? Listen to the guy. Yesterday, I went through about 4 or 5 different news channels, and I listened to the various responses, if you will, from Joe Biden. Slurred words, wrong words, used in the wrong connotation, vacant stares, no train of thought. I dare you, anybody out in the audience, to tell me that Joe Biden is nothing more than a shell of a man. He's nothing. Puppet. And after listening to him yesterday, and then he comes out with his ties to the Muslim community. If you haven't heard about this, you need to. He said yesterday that he, Joe Biden, wishes, now listen closely to this in a Christian nation, Biden wishes schools in the United States taught more about the Islamic faith. This is chilling to me, very chilling. Biden was speaking at what's called Engage Action's virtual Million Muslim Vote Summit. And he said, I wish we were taught more in our schools about the Islamic faith. That really sends a cold chill down my spine. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I know what you mean, Zeb. Going back just a little ways where you, excuse me, we're talking about your grandsons. What a wonderful thing. But, you know, I find that sometimes in the schools it's just academic. You know, the 4.0 students and everything that get everything. Now, I don't know about your grandsons, whether they're studious or not.
Yes, they are, very much so.
They're doing something, and they're recognized for it.
Yep.
I'd say it is wonderful.
Well, I'm not going to sit here because it would be inappropriate, and I'm not going to sit here and just brag about their achievements and their accolades and everything they've done so far in their young lives, of which there is much to talk about, quite frankly. I'm very proud of them. But education is a well-rounded sphere that has to be academics and athletics and meeting and working with your peers and teachers. In order to get a good education, you have to have everything combined. It's not just making somebody open a book, read it, study it, give a test on it, and do that 24/7, 365. That's not an education system.
Well, I can think of something that happened just recently in Twin Falls. The car dealership that my son works for was giving away a new Hyundai car for that area there of the academic achievements. In other words, 4.0 people were the only ones that could enter.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's wrong. People are smart. You don't have to be a 4.0 person to be smart.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that.
Common sense.
Yeah, common sense. There's a lot of things that play into the terminology being smart. And well, look at politics. We've got some so-called educated idiots that are sitting in the halls of Congress.
Yes, indeed. But then you got people like me who don't even know how to run a computer.
Well, don't go there.
Probably never will.
Don't go there because I'm guilty too. Keith, I got to run. Thank you so much. Appreciate your call. Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, yes. I want you to comment on this about Joe Biden, though. And this is really kind of spooky. He said, I wish we taught more in our schools about the Islamic faith. And then he went on to say, what people don't realize is one of my, meaning his, avocations is theology. Oh, did you know that about Joe? I didn't. And then he said to the Muslims that were gathered there, he said, quote, you're doing what has never been done before. You're registering and turning out more than 1 million Muslim voters this November. Oh, it matters. Your voice is your vote is your voice. And that's Joe Biden catering and pandering and lowering himself to the Muslim faith, saying he wished that more schools in the U.S. taught more about the Islamic faith. Well, then let's all clamor and say, as a Christian nation, step aside, Joe. We go first. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And then John Kasich. You know, I got to be honest with you that former Republican Ohio Governor John Kasich is not one of the people that I would ever accept going to lunch with or having a cup of coffee with. I detest the man. I got to be honest. I never liked him. He's a whiner. He's a wannabe and never will. And he's doing all he can on behalf of his slight leadership in Ohio to denigrate and hurt the re-election of Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, he's going to be speaking on behalf of Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden next month. John Kasich. I always thought he was a whiner. I always thought he was kind of a loser when he was way back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago with Fox News. Never did care for the guy. And he's even calling for and has called for Trump's impeachment. John Kasich. Classic example of a zero. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't leave me hanging, folks. I want to hear from you. Give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Now, here's the story on Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got 3 locations, one at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, one at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. And they've got an inventory that is absolutely amazing. Yes, they've got all the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes. They've got all the trenchers. They've got all the scissor lifts. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators for all the lifting and the digging and the pushing and the carrying. You better get a hold of them today. They are the best at what they do, and they can help you. Burley, Twin Falls, Nampa. Believe me, Barry Equipment and Rental, you get a hold of them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Seth. Three quick things. First of all, you got some great grandkids. They are just super kids, and they got a great set of parents. So I want you to first let you know that. Secondly, I find it interesting that we want to try and bring a different type of religion into the schools, but we can't even have a pledge. And thirdly, I find it interesting that all these people that are rioting, we can go find maybe their addresses. I wondered if we would have burned those houses down if they felt the same way, or they wouldn't let us do that because they would be fine with that type of rioting.
You know, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I respect everything you said this morning, and I agree with it, and I'm going to add to it. Thank you for your call. God bless you. The connection wasn't good, but boy, he made some excellent points. One of which is it's a real itch on the back of my neck, and I'm going to say this. I heard a couple of educators the other day on television, and I cannot be honest and say what station or network it was on because I caught it in passing, okay? And they were talking about the Pledge of Allegiance, and the one educator made the most stupid and absolutely chilling statement to show how dumb she really was when she said, we don't have time in today's curriculum to have a daily Pledge of Allegiance. 17 seconds. Sean did the Pledge of Allegiance this morning for me. I do it every day on this program. I'm not going to quit. I remember it was a couple of years ago, some clown looking for a circus called me up and said, why don't you do away with Kate Smith and God Bless America and all that silly pledge stuff and get right into the program? And I said, thank you for your call. Don't bother me again. The Pledge of Allegiance will stay on this program. Kate Smith, God Bless America, will stay on this program. The national anthem, as it is intended and how it was written by Francis Scott Key, will stay on this program. Your options are simple. If you don't like it, listen to somebody else. But I'm not going to change. And when I hear this excuse by supposedly educated people, and they're not, saying, well, it takes too much time away from the curriculum, 17 seconds to say the Pledge of Allegiance and show respect for this, the greatest country on the face of the earth? What a lame excuse from very uneducated, not very intelligent people. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Let's see, we've got about 105 days to the election, and I want everybody to be calling their friends and neighbors and really making sure they all turn out and vote. Go to your polling stations. I am never going to advocate on this program again, ever mail-in voting for any circumstance. I've made a decision, and regardless of what happens politically in our state of Idaho or anything local or statewide, I will never advocate for a state mail-in voting campaign again. I did the last time because of the pandemic and the coronavirus, et cetera, et cetera. I won't do it again. Even if the advertisement money is there to support a cause, I will never advocate mail-in voting. I think it's the greatest way to have fraud and deception in voting. So there you go. You can count on it. I won't take the money. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Our weather is being brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And Dr. Christine Pickup has a wonderful program of testing and making sure that if you've got a diminishment in hearing, they can help, and they will help. They're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call, 312-0957. I'll say that number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You call them today. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another warm day, and then we're going to be into a fire weather watch. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies and a high of 92 is what we're looking at. A little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight mostly clear with a low of 61. For tomorrow and for Thursday, we are going to be in a red flag warning and a fire weather watch, as we do have some late afternoon and early evening rain showers and thunderstorms. Partly sunny skies for tomorrow, expecting a high of 90 with an overnight low of 60. Then for Thursday, looks like mostly sunny skies. Still a slight chance of some late afternoon thunderstorms, high of 90 with an overnight low of 57. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's look at your weather for Zeb.
Oh, Gina, thank you. Well, with the good weather, the hot weather, and the sultry weather, you're going to get some thunder boomers that are going to be coming in, so we'll look forward to that. Our weather brought to you again by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they do a wonderful job providing expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology for your hearing health. Get a hold of them today, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, come on, folks, your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I'm chuckling. It's not really funny. It's not funny at all about the NBA and how absolutely ridiculous professional athletes are. They were given an opportunity, and again, if you don't agree with me, you can call in and disagree, but they were given an opportunity because of their athletic prowess and talent to go through high school probably not with the best of grades, get into college with possibly, in many, many, many instances, grades that wouldn't be acceptable for college. They were given a college education. They were given the accolades, and, man, they signed a big pro contract. Whether it's the NBA or whether it's the NFL. And then with these big pro contracts, they go out and they get all the endorsements and everything else, live in a very nice neighborhood, drive nice cars, and can retire. And the rest of us keep buying these very expensive tickets to support these prima donnas. But now the NBA has lost me forever. I am not going to support the likes of LeBron James or any of the NBA games because Commissioner Adam Silver has given the players the green light to wear social messages on their uniforms. And one of those social message logos is Black Lives Matter. And it's also going to be painted on the courts of the NBA. Oh, isn't that wonderful? The NBA is supporting a Marxist and communist organization bent on overthrowing the Constitution and the values of America, and the NBA is going to be a major part of it. I think that's just wonderful, don't you? And then listen to this. People like LeBron James, that has the combined IQ of a hockey puck, evidently, and many, many more of the big sports professionals in the NBA, were coming out and advocating the downfall of the Confederacy and all the statues and slavery that created a black pimple on the face of America 250 years ago, and all America's bad. But yet the NBA is supporting the Chinese sweatshops with forced labor, slave labor, to create for Nike their uniforms. Think about it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, that is why I am absolutely through with the NBA. I am not going to watch any of their games. In fact, the NBA can go out of existence as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what kind of common sense is it, my dear caller, to criticize a country like America for the shortcomings of slavery of over 150, 200 years ago, and it's been stopped, and there's more opportunity in this country now for blacks, browns, Asians, anybody else, and then at the same time allow China to make their uniforms with slave labor in sweatshops? I mean, this is asinine.
Common sense there. And I want you to verify if it's true that the NFL is doing the same thing, because I haven't heard for sure, but there's rumors to that effect.
There are rumors, and I do not have that in my hand, but this one with the NBA, I do have right here in my hot little paw. Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate your call.
Yeah, and if you could verify whether those rumors about the NFL are true or not, I'd really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Thank you. You're not hearing any of these players come out and say anything like free the slaves in Nigeria and the Congo. You're not hearing anything like free Hong Kong. Oh, no. If they came out and said free Hong Kong, why, China would be upset. Why, the NBA can't have China be upset. Why, that would cost billions of dollars. And that's all the world is centered on today is money. Filthy lucre. We got to make more and more and more. Who cares about people? Why, we can condemn the United States over past transgressions, but today we're going to have our uniforms made by Nike over in a sweatshop with forced slave labor. That's okay. That's okay. And then they want to put on the court Black Lives Matter. I'll go on record again. All lives matter. All lives made in God's image. I don't care what the person's skin color is. All lives matter. I will never be racist and salute a logo or respect a logo that centers on Black Lives Matter. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. And if you're going to be going someplace to Aunt Martha, or I bit my tongue, Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred, or go see Grandma, whatever, make sure that you've got the best of tires for whatever the road trip is going to entail. Going to New Mexico, going to Wisconsin, going to Florida, whatever. Enjoy yourself, but drive safely on the best of tires for your car, pickup, SUV, along with your horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. They've got them all. They know all the tread designs. They know all about tireology, which means they're going to find the best tires for your driving. Absolutely stop in and see them today. Any one of the 7 locations. Safe, clean environment. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane in Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, with the best of service, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I don't call in very often, but I listen to you every day. You know, our founding fathers and the colonies, when they were under the tyranny of the King of England and the troops that would destroy people's lives and take their families and all their livestock and burn their houses down if they protested. Time and time again, the Founding Fathers sent emissaries to England and in writing and everything else to ask the king to please stop what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there came a time when they finally realized that it was time to lie down the pen and pick up the sword.
Yep.
Now, if history is any indication of what's happening, you know, a year ago I got on the program and told everybody that these people were communists. And I was kind of, you know, well, maybe they're, you know, no. But I'll tell you something. In Russia, only 17% of the population believed in Bolshevism.
Yes.
17%. They rioted in the streets. They tore down statues. They killed people. The Tsar thought that it would die down.
Mike, hurry. I've only got 30 seconds. Real fast.
They ended up killing the Tsar, his whole family.
Yep.
And that 17% Bolsheviks, communists, took over the country, and you saw what happened to Russia.
Amen.
And it will happen here if we do not lie down the pen and pick up the sword. And people go, well, you know, I'm a historian of military history, as you know, and I shed my blood on foreign soil.
Absolutely.
I have a right to speak my mind, and you know who I am.
I do, Mike, and I'm out of time. I've got to run to the news, but I wish you'd have called me a little earlier. I want to talk to you more about this. Call me tomorrow morning, please. Please.
Okay,
Thank you. All right. Thank you. I'm going to take one call for 30 seconds, and that's all I've got, caller. Real fast, please.
They're gone.
Oh, they're gone. They're gone into the great whispering pines of eternity. All right, we're going to take a little break right now. Come back. We'll stir you up again next hour. Dan Kish and Kathy Barnett. Don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, my. Going to be warm, warm, warm today. Stay cool. Drink a lot of water. Or whatever. Zeb at the Ranch, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. And, of course, don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And they are the best at helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go with our good friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, they've got the dumpsters, and I've said this many times in the past, but I haven't touched on it lately, but they've got dumpsters in various sizes. And if you're cleaning out the basement, the garage, whatever, the upstairs, the attic, and you just need to pitch and throw and fill one up, they've got them in various sizes. They'll bring them out, set them up, you fill it up, and they'll come and get it at Western Waste Services, 734-6969. It's really, really true, always at your disposal. By the way, yesterday I was down at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, Nick Greenwell. Oh, I tell you what, that guy and his staff, they are so good at helping you get back to being you. Aching and paining from a surgery or an accident or whatever. Oh my, they know what to do with all the exercises and of course the hydrotherapy pool. You better call them today. Make an appointment, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, serving you. And, of course, our friends, and I want to mention this quickly before we go to the phone line, I want to give a great big shout-out to my dear friend Joel Heward, his family, and staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, they have been serving you and your families for so many years with absolutely the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, a very tumultuous time, everything has to be done, and they are there to serve you and help you in the most professional manner. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call 436-5636. And, of course, Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now, and boy, am I wanting to talk to this guy today. My old buddy, emphasis on the word old, Dan Kish, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Zeb, I'm good. How about you?
I have in my hot little hand the proposal that Biden and the Democrats want to have for energy and climate plans, and it's called Build Back Better. And it's going to cost you and me and everybody, maybe everything we've got, an energy plan that is absolutely ridiculous. Have you read it?
Yes.
And?
It's, I think Red China's going to like it a lot, Zeb.
I do too. You know, Dan, as I read through this thing, I absolutely was excited to have you on the program because they keep using the words clean energy revolution and, of course, irreversible path to achieve net zero emissions. Oh, but when they start talking about what it's going to do, it's going to bankrupt this entire country. Take it from there.
Well, what it is, Zeb, I mean, it's what it really is the old Green New Deal that AOC, in fact, she was very responsible for putting this together, along with John Kerry, who got us into that Paris Treaty that President Trump thankfully got us out of. But basically what it is the same old thing dusted off. It's the, remember green jobs? Now they call them clean jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the Obama administration, they promised all these green jobs, and what happened was he said, well, we didn't really have any shovel-ready jobs. Of course, that's because the government goes out of its way to make things harder on everybody. What this is saying we're going to do away with American sources of energy and switch to red Chinese sources of energy like wind and solar panels, and that's the wave of the future according to them. So it's extremely expensive. It's just bass backwards, if I could say that, because ultimately we finally got to a point last year where we're self-sufficient, energy independence. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
President Trump referred to it as energy dominance, hoping for the next leg, which would make us a big player in world markets. And we finally produced more energy. It's the first time since 1957 we produced more energy than we consumed here in the United States of all kinds.
Right.
You know, there's still trade and that sort of thing, but we finally, using our own blood, sweat, tears, and God-given resources, did that. And their plan is to turn that on its head and go off buying 500 million solar panels from China and other places, Malaysia, Korea, but principally the Chinese control the world market for these things. And relying on them for our minerals, they own 90 to 95% of the world's mines that make the stuff that goes in these things. And that's the wave of the future. So instead of an all-American energy plan, America for Americans, this is let's help Red China. So they're just, I'm sure they're building ships over there getting ready.
You know, I want to go through some of this, and I want to give you some of the verbiage, and I want you to explain it in your words. Some of the key phrases that I read that really bother me. No, they don't bother me. They tee me off. And one of them was that Biden's clean energy initiatives revolve around a platform that aims to put the United States on an, quote, irreversible path to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Irreversible. So in other words, man, once we're on this path, it's either go to hell or go to heaven, one of the two.
Yeah, well, that's what they're shooting for. In essence, I mean, they are so wrapped around the axle about climate change. They think they can change the world's weather. That they are willing to basically take all of the rent money and all of the investment money and everything else and turn it over to China, by the way, because it's all dependent. Reaching that from their perspective is, and believe me, we'd never reach it because the Chinese would just throw some more coal into their furnaces over there to make more solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'd feel good about it, but being in poverty and sitting around talking about how great it is that you have zero emissions when China runs the world, and you're dependent upon them for keeping the lights on here, is a program for a fool. And yet they can kind of get away with it, Zeb, because they're never asked hard questions by the media about this stuff. Like,
that's right.
Okay, how much of this do we actually provide? How much of this is going to be American? What about the all of the investment that's been made in all of these various other resources in our power plants and all the rest of it? And what's next for these people? Because they never stop. I mean, the answer is always some new government program. So what'll it be next?
Well,
I don't know, water. They want the federal government to control all water. They tried that under the Obama administration with the Waters of the U.S. rule.
Yeah.
It's always about more government power, more power in Washington telling other people what to do, even though they don't even know where the water comes from, or the electricity for that matter. But they wear nice suits and they look good on TV, don't they?
Dan, you're going to have to calm me down a little bit, because when I read this one paragraph coming up, this really incited me to want to grab a hold of a necktie of a Democrat and pull it very tight. It said, quote, included in the plan is a proposal to increase the federal government's procurement system budget, which spends $500 billion with a B dollars every year, by an additional $400 billion in order to fund 100% clean energy and zero emission vehicles. Now, right there, zero emission vehicles. They are going to, according to what I'm reading here, force the American public into buying and trading off their gas guzzlers that have been treating them very well, and buy these not so efficient electric vehicles. Who's going to help foot the bill for this? Where are the bankers going to be to provide the money for the consumer that doesn't have the money or the credit to change over to this transition?
Oh, well, Zeb, they're just going to take that money from our kids and grandkids. That's basically what they're doing now with all of the things that they're loading on because of coronavirus. In essence, what happens is you print money, and then at some point the piper has to be paid, and the value of the money goes down, and it goes down rapidly. It's called inflation. People aren't familiar with it. Most of these people like AOC have never experienced it. But you and I have, and we know what happens. Anybody who has savings, they get wiped out. People's checks don't go as far because everything costs more. But they can run around and talk about how they've done all these things, and people sit there wondering, well, why am I spending an hour and a half at the gas station fueling up my emission-free car when it used to take me 5 minutes?
Yeah. Amen. Amen. And then this paragraph is the one that got me the most, Dan. Biden's infrastructure plan includes a second great railroad revolution, public transit systems in cities with more than 100,000 people, green spaces and water systems, new electricity grids, and universal broadband. Also proposed is the construction of 1.5 million sustainable homes and upgrading millions of buildings to be more energy efficient. Okay. Right there's not even a comment about the rural people, about rural America, about farmers and ranchers and people that live outside of the city. What are we all going to do? Have to buy a horse and buggy and go back to 1875?
Well, yeah, this isn't designed for people in rural areas, Zeb. This is designed for their voter base, which is in the urban areas. That's why when you look at a voting map from the last presidential election on a precinct-by-precinct basis, you've got a few blue spots all jammed together in these big cities. Even in places like Illinois, the entire state of Illinois looks basically blue, but then it's got these little red spots in the cities, and that's where all the population is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're crying for. They don't even make any pretense anymore that they care about people who live in rural areas. They'll say something about it in passing. They'll talk about rural broadband, stuff like that. Those are actually issues that need addressing and can be addressed, but you don't have to destroy the entire United States economy in order to do that. What they're talking about is basically taking the stuff that makes all work possible in the United States, all food production, all transportation of goods, all trade, and running it from Washington, where there's some wizard behind a curtain and some people who tell us what to think.
Mm-hmm.
And, boy, you better not disagree with them, or you're a denier, or you're, you don't care about polar bears, or whatever the issue is they throw out there to try to scare the kids, which is working, by the way.
Absolutely. And then I've got to go to this one. Biden also wants to create an environmental and climate justice division with the Department of Justice to go after polluters. Now, Dan, you are one of the sharpest guys I've ever met with energy and talking about energy. That must kind of make you sweat a little bit, because each and every American absolutely would be hauled and sailed into court, and the government, with their control, they could nail us to a tree with that kind of a justice system created through Climate Justice Division.
Well, first of all, it presumes that somehow, Americans, by their actions, are somehow destroying things. Our air's cleaner today than it ever has been.
Absolutely.
And our waters are the same. Doesn't mean we can't do work, and we are doing work, but every time somebody buys a new machine or does something different, upgrades something, we've seen it with our vehicles, we've seen it with everything, it gets better. And Europe would love to have the kind of air we have. And don't even get me started about Asia. People in Africa just be happy to have a light bulb that works so their kids could study at night if they're lucky enough to have school. What they're talking about here is unleashing legions of lawyers in order to basically hassle people. You want to you got a burn barrel in the backyard. You got a your tractor isn't the latest model. It gets the best mileage. It just puts us all on a hook, because in reality, energy, we all use enormous amounts of energy in the United States. It's why a population 1/5 the size of China's produces more than China, and has a higher standard of living. They think that that's wrong. They think that's immoral. They think that we ought to live like others. And China isn't buying any of it. They're building coal plants huckledybuck. But none of those things are ever asked about these programs by the media because the media doesn't know these things or they don't ask inconvenient questions.
Absolutely.
And therein lies a problem with the whole thing.
Absolutely.
It's a plan for huge government intervention. Any excuse they can use, whether it's COVID or the climate or you name it. The answer is always more government, more bureaucrats in Washington, more lawyers, more lobbyists, more money from you to feed that beast so they can all live better.
Now, the story goes on, and here's the part where we're going to end it this morning, and I want you to elaborate. The Wood-Mackenzie study cited by the Trump campaign further estimated that decarbonization would cost the average American household nearly an extra $2,000 a year. And given that Biden's campaign advocates for a carbon-free power by 2035, households could potentially face $30,000 in costs over 15 years. What about our seniors? What about our low-income people? How in the world are they going to afford this?
Well, ultimately, Zeb, they don't have to make those numbers work. They just say they're going to do it and pretend as though it doesn't cost anything. Somehow it's free. I mean, the sun is free, the wind is free. It just so happens you have to use these very expensive Chinese boxes to turn it into energy. We use what we use today because it makes the most sense. It won out. Without the government, it basically won out over years because you got more bang for your buck, you got more per gallon of energy. It's dense. It produces a lot of energy. That's why it takes 5 minutes to fill up your big rig at a gas station instead of an hour and a half to sit there in line with your car plugged in. That's in essence. None of this makes any sense at all, except to people who live in the world that believe that there are smart people in Washington who are going to solve all your problems. And if you believe that, I got a bridge for you.
Dan, in your expertise and what you do every day, pardon me, hay fever season gets in my throat occasionally. I apologize for that. But what you do with your job with the American Energy Alliance every day, what are the chances, honestly, of the American public being gullible enough to allow something like this to happen?
Well, as we've talked about before, Zeb, a lot of these things, I always have faith in the American public because ultimately when push comes to shove, when the rubber hits the road, unfortunately, a lot of times it takes the rubber hitting the road for people to wake up. Under the Obama administration, they tried a lot of these things on a much smaller scale. We had things like Solyndra where they threw away $750 million or something, or $500 million. We had companies where taxpayers were paying them for technologies, and then they build their plants in other countries to sell back to us. We had a lot of pushback on these things because people began to see these folks are serious about this. They really want to do these things, whether they make sense or not. We're not going to put our foot down. And so a lot of that happened. But listen, they get control of the levers. They can pull those levers every which way, and whether or not we go off the cliff depends on how much people raise a stink. But if anybody's thinking about sitting this election out, you're doing your children, your grandchildren a disservice.
Absolutely. Very well stated. I wish I had more time, but the clock dictates to us as to what we must go to next, and so I'm going to say goodbye to a dear friend, Dan Kish, American Energy Alliance. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to next Tuesday, my dear friend.
Thanks, Zeb. God bless.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Really enjoy having him on the air. Straight shooter Dan Kish, American Energy Alliance. Want to remind you, a lot of good things going on next week at the Minidoka County Fair. Holy smokes, you don't want to miss a minute of it. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun with some really nice people. The Minidoka County Fair going on July 27th through August 1st. And I mean all American flair at the Minidoka Fair. They're going to have lawnmower races and tiny tot gymkhanas and Dutch oven cobbler with ice cream social. They're going to have a PMT concert. It's going to be phenomenal. They're going to have a junior rodeo and an open rodeo. All of this with really nice people serving you, saying, come on in to the Minidoka County Fair. It's all going to be next week, July 27th through August 1st. Don't you miss it. Going to be great, great times. By the way, this Thursday, we are going to be over at the Denny's restaurant for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Yes, we are lunch bunchers. Please put this on your calendar. Social distancing will be adhered to. And we're going to have a lot of fun at 611 North Overland in Burley for Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant. Delicious food. I look forward to it every month. And, of course, great service. Thomas and Michelle, the rest of the staff all serving us. You be sure and come on down. Be a part of our fun at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, yep, it's true. America's Diner. Don't you forget that. In just a few moments, we're going to be going to the phone line again, and I've got a lady on my program that is absolutely one of my favorite people to visit with, Kathy Barnett. So stand by for that. Want to remind you, too, about Let's Ride. Get your motor running. Get outside and enjoy the great Southern Idaho outdoors on a side-by-side or a four-wheeler from Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. I'm telling you, they've got a showroom full of fun. You get over there. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2, and you're going to find just what you're looking for to get outside and enjoy. They've got all the accessories, and they've got a super service department to keep you running. Good morning, everybody, from Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World, and it's true, this is where the fun is sold. Over in that area, right there on the curve going into Rupert, as a matter of fact, don't forget our friends of Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I'm telling you, Todd and the rest of the outfit, they are so service-oriented to make sure that you're taken care of with your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They really, really care, and they're dedicated to serving you. What do you have to do? Nothing much. Just call the number. Make an appointment. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Ladies and gentlemen, this next lady has been on the program about 3-4 times in the past, and I always look forward to having her back.
Answering her phone.
I beg your pardon?
She is not answering her phone.
We have had this trouble before. Deanne, could you help Sean and try to find out exactly why we're not getting a hold of Kathy? And Sean, while you're there, let me see if I have another number. I do not. The only one I have is the number I gave you. Deanne will try to find out where she is, and we'll go from there. So, until we get a hold of Kathy Barnett, quickly, if you would, we'll welcome phone calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Kathy Barnett, not available right now, so we'll see if we can't find her. And again, while we're waiting, give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just want to mention that as we go into the fair and the rodeo season, for those of which are going to have a fair, God bless them. God bless them. And get out and support your county fairs and all the people that have put forth a great effort for you and your family to enjoy an annual summertime event. Absolutely. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I don't want to be too long in case your call comes through. How you feeling today about things in general?
Well, how am I feeling about things in general? Okay, well, that encompasses a lot of things. I'm real tickled to death that I was able to get out of bed this morning and get vertical and walk away. I was real tickled. I had a really nice, tasty bowl of Graham, what was it, kind of cereal? I can't remember what it was. And I'm tickled to death to be back on this program. How's Randy doing today?
Well, I was positive yesterday, and then this morning I don't have cable anymore. I shut it off. It went off, whatever, somehow. And all I have is, I have Netflix. I got Voodoo, the Voodoo that you do. And I've got, YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And then I listen to the radio all day. And then my wife does research.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't listen to, Tucker and Ingram and Hannity, but I listen to, all day I listen to you guys, and then I listen to whoever's on, later.
Well, at least you're listening to the best.
Depending.
Yeah.
And so the thing of it is, that's where I get my news, but, this morning I YouTubed Ingram, and there were all the things that these governors are doing, and I knew it, what they're doing and how they're trying to extend this thing into the fall, not have school. So, then I go, then my heart sinks. Of course, I knew it, but, you just kind of have to realize, I guess we just get up every day and we go like hell, and you hope that there's people across this nation that feel the same as we.
Well, wait a minute. Let me jump in on you.
Here in southern Idaho that feel this way.
Yeah, let me jump in on you a little bit and have a kind of a two-way conversation here. And I'm at the point in my life where if I offend somebody, so be it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to be very honest. These kids have got to get back in school. These kids have got to be in a classroom learning with their peers from a teacher that can teach and help these children with the problems, maybe with learning a certain subject or whatever. They've got to get back in school. We have got to resume a lifestyle. I am sick and tired of being, let's say, umbrellaed by a problem that says, we're all going to die. We're not going to live. Listen, you can't exist that way. This virus is not going to go away until they find a cure for it, which will not be for a long time. We're going to have to learn to exist and live. And that doesn't mean behind closed doors with our fingernails on the window going, oh golly, I wish I could go see Fred. I'm sick of this kind of lifestyle.
Well, we can't continue to do it, and that's the reason why, for instance, whether or not you're forced to wear a face mask or not, you just got to go out and do what you got to do, I guess.
Well, okay, but wait a minute. Stop right there. Whoa, wait a minute, Randy. You made a point. I want you to elaborate on it a little bit real quick. What about face masks? Now, here's my philosophy on face masks. You tell me if you disagree. I am going to wear a face mask if I go into a business or somewhere where I feel I might be risking my health or my wife's health, and we're going to wear a face mask. But I am not going to be told to wear one all the time, everywhere, every place. That I will not do.
Right, and you shouldn't have to. And that's the thing. When I appealed to the governor, I said, let us be responsible. And so the thing about face masks is this. There are countries that mask up, and it hasn't helped. And there's countries that don't wear masks at all. Scandinavia, they're not masking up. And it didn't, they're riding through this thing. And they didn't mask. And so, the jury is out on whether or not these masks are helping. But I guess it turns into more of a courtesy.
I was talking to one of my best friends yesterday. Well, I'll just say who it is. I was talking to Nick Greenwell over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. And I had the mask on while they were working on my leg. I had that mask on for about 45 minutes, I think it was. And I don't know how you are, Randy, but that thing, I can't breathe. I can't stand that stale air. I can't stand to have that sweaty feeling around my mouth and my lips. And quite frankly, the minute I walked out the door, I threw that son of a gun on the driver's seat of my pickup, and I haven't picked it up yet.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Zeb. I haven't worn a mask, and I'm probably not going to, but if I go to a business that I do business with, they require masks, and there is one, a big company in Paul, and I will wear a mask because, you know, you either do it or else, and if I want to keep the account, I'm going to do it. But otherwise, well, like for instance yesterday, the people at Walmart says you don't have to wear a mask, we encourage it. I says, well, if you don't mind, I'm not going to do it. I went in and I came out, went in, left. Went straight across the street to Cow Ranch, and nobody had a mask on. Nobody working there had a mask on. Nobody walking into it had a mask on. And I just said, you know, I don't know. You see what I mean? It's just...
I am not going to... I don't want to be subject...
Corporation is just doing it for what? For public relations or for liability, or what are they doing it for?
All I know is that if it comes down to push and shove, as I said earlier, my philosophy is, and I talked to the mayor of Murtaugh last night, we were talking about this, and also one of our county commissioners. And I said, I'm not going to be told to wear a mask. I'm going to wear one out of concern for my health and my wife's health in circumstances and situations to where, if it's a closed-in area, I'm going to make sure that I don't inhale some of the breath and the air of someone else that may be sick. But I am not going to wear one all the time, every public place, everywhere I go. That's not going to happen.
Well, this is the thing. You know, we had the hot spot and all of the politically correct people in Ketchum. And my son played at Whiskey Jack's, which is right there in Main Street, one of the most prestigious places in Idaho to play music. And he said nobody had a mask. They weren't social distancing. You know, he went there. He played. The people, whether or not they're tourists or locals, they didn't abide. The week before, he played in Stanley. Nobody was really abiding. They were jammed in up there like the hell wouldn't have it. California, Oregon, Washington, you know, Boise, and Ketchum. They were all up there. They were, you know, because they ran away from where they were. They were up there, you know, in Idaho, you know, they weren't following the rules whatsoever.
All I want to say is we've got a problem with the coronavirus. We've got a problem with, I will say, medical leadership. We're not going to get rid of this virus right now. I mean, it's a virus. It's going to lay dormant. It's going to come back. It's going to rear its ugly head again. What are we going to do in the fall, Randy, when we have other viruses that are going to be competing for us, like your common cold and your flu, your influenza of various strains, along with this? We can't just quit living.
Well, this is the thing about we accept the risks. In the Constitution, it's the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. It doesn't say we're going to protect you from everything.
There you go.
And, you know, the spirit that won the West, we got to somehow find it and hope our kids find it, our young people.
Well, the Lone Ranger wore a mask, but he could breathe with his a lot better than I could breathe with mine. Thanks, Randy. God bless you. Thanks. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm probably getting a lot of hot water with some over my comments, but that's okay. Don't forget Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Hello, Curtis and Lorena, and they are your electronic needs headquarters. What are you looking for? Well, it's all there. I mean, all there. They know all about electronics, whether it's the power cords or the monster cables or the home theater systems or the car stereos and speakers, all your car audio systems, your surveillance cameras. Whew. The list goes on. And they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they're closed on Sundays. You better get a hold of them today. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley, Curtis and Lorena, serving you. Number to call, 678-6997. All right, I do not know what happened to Kathy Barnett, and it bothers me a little bit because we had this happen one other time, but Deanne is checking and trying to get through to the office back in, I think it's in the Chicago area, and no, Pennsylvania, pardon me, and perhaps we can get her on the phone. So calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please. Like to visit with you. I had another
caller twice, and she's still not answering.
Well, doesn't that just frustrate you? It does me. Okay. Did you happen to see last night on the news the SEIU, which our dear friend Dave Bego has spoken about many, many times on our program? They have been an arch nemesis of his over the years, and that's why Dave Bego wrote the book, The Devil at My Doorstep, etc. Well, now they are going out and they're trying to get the fast food workers to leave the workplace and basically strike from transportation, food, and the health industries. And the SEIU is out there promoting all this chaos. And here we are at a time leading up to the election, and you can just see the orchestration. You can see the organization of the left. They hate Trump so bad, and they hate conservatives so bad, they will destroy America. They will destroy jobs. They will destroy the economy. They'll destroy our security just to win this election and take over power. And the SEIU is involved in this now. What they are telling the protesters is, oh, you're being mistreated. Oh, my goodness, you're not getting a living wage. Oh, you've got to leave your job and tell that owner, that franchisor, that you're not going to work anymore and leave him high and dry when he gave you a job in the first place. This is ridiculous. And the SEIU protesting what they say, racial inequality. Where does inequality come into this thing if you're flipping a burger, for Pete's sakes? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Ay, ay, ay. The weather, and we're kind of just piecing things together here a little bit, hoping that we could have got Kathy Barnett on the phone, and we don't know where she is. The weather is brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they are the professionals with accounting services for the Mini-Cash area and beyond for well over 50 years. Over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. I know these people, and they are good, and they really care. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they can help folks that are starting a business or a corporation or a partnership or expanding their business, hiring more employees. You get a hold of them today, the professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, they bring you the weather.
Another warm day, and then we're going to be into a fire weather watch. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies and a high of 92 is what we're looking at. A little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight mostly clear with a low of 61. For tomorrow and for Thursday, we are going to be in a red flag warning and a fire weather watch, as we do have some late afternoon and early evening rain showers and thunderstorms. Partly sunny skies for tomorrow, expecting a high of 90 with an overnight low of 60. Then for Thursday, looks like mostly sunny skies. Still a slight chance of some late afternoon thunderstorms, high of 90 with an overnight low of 57. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the radio.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. Calls welcome, 436-2244. And, of course, don't forget our weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. As I said, they've been serving the best of accounting services for you in the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years, with offices at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Don't forget, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Quick reminder, we are going to be having the Lunch Bunch this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant. Now, we're going to have it indoors. It's going to be in the facility at Denny's in our room that we always have it in, and I urge you to be there. Now, social distancing will be practiced, and we're going to have the door prizes, and we're going to have our lunch, and we're going to have our patriotism like we always display, and we'd like to have you there. So please be a part of our program this Thursday at 11:30 at Lunch Bunch at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. We will see you there. All right, now, very seldom do I ever sit down and beg, but right now, without a guest, I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts on masks? Are you going to wear one all the time, 24/7, 365? What are your thoughts on this? Do you feel uncomfortable in the mask? Would you like to have a mandate by the governor and or whomever that you have to wear one all the time while out in public? Which leads me to wonder, does that mean like if you're sitting in your pickup at the grocery store, does it mean that you have to wear one while walking through a city park or walking down a street, whatever? What are your thoughts on the face masks? Now, I find them to be very intrusive and very uncomfortable, and the stagnation factor of the stale air and the sweat, especially in these hot days. What are your thoughts? Give me a call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb. I've talked to a lot of people, and to be real honest with you, a lot of them get claustrophobia. They can't handle it. They have to take off and go in the back room and get a breath of air. And a lot of people just can't handle this, but I've talked to a lot of people, and even some pretty renowned people that have to wear them, and they said it's about like expecting your underwear to hold a fart inside. And that's all I'll say.
Hey, wait a minute. Don't go away. Don't go away. He went away. I told him not to, and he did. The mask is, and I know that I was at the hospital the other day. I had to go see a doctor, and I had the mask on. And then I went and got a haircut, and I had the mask on. And then I've been other places where I go in, I'll put the mask on because it's indoors in a closed area, relatively small area with other people. I'm going to protect myself. But I am just like that person that just called in. Not only do I feel claustrophobic, but I just can't breathe. I just feel like, oh boy, I got to get outside. I got to get a breath of fresh air. What are your thoughts on the masks and the entirety of the mask taking over our life? And they're saying, oh, well, we're going to have to wear a mask now for years to come. Really? What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I can't imagine waiting to go someplace, whether it's church on Sunday morning or whether it's going out to eat and trying to figure out, well, now listen, I'll lift up my mask here and I'll try to fork in a couple of forkfuls and then I'll put the mask down again. This is ridiculous. But that's the society that we're living in right now. Give me a call, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And what are your thoughts? I'd like to know about masks and the wearing of masks and what kind of masks. And we've lost all our personality as far as I'm concerned. The Black Lives Matter and the honoring of a criminal and a thug and a punk and a very dangerous man George Floyd. There are those that are going to be offended by that, but so be it. George Floyd became the poster boy for Black Lives Matter, and I don't think it at all was correct. I think it was poorly thought out. George Floyd had been arrested over 9 times. He was a convicted drug dealer and supposedly and allegedly was at a drug deal the day that he died. He, in the past, had held a gun to the stomach of a pregnant woman while his friends with him robbed her home. He did prison time 3 different times, totaling, I think, a total of 8 years. And now they're memorializing George Floyd as the hero of the Black Lives Matter movement. What are your thoughts on that? I find it despicable the way the man died. He was killed because of unconscionable actions by police officers that I think were out of control. I will concede that. But to put a statue up that they probably would not tear down to George Floyd, a man that wasn't your good neighbor Sam, and memorialize him and turn him into a patron saint, your thoughts, please. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you while I have just a moment here about... we'll take the call first. Good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, it's Earl.
Yes, sir.
On this Floyd deal and then possibly other situations like this, the courts are failing. And they're putting the burden on the police departments or the state patrols, whatever. But it's our courts that are failing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're putting all this pressure on others to do the court's work for them. I just haven't got any time for this, what's going on this Floyd deal. Because when you're red flagged for X amount of times, the courts are failing.
Absolutely.
The police department.
Absolutely. No, the cops are getting them. It's kind of like going fishing. They're out there and they caught the guy or they caught the perpetrator, and then through the absolute silly, frivolous, and stupid court system that's like a turnstile at a subway system in New York, they're letting them back out on the street within hours, and they can repeat their offenses. I could not agree with you more.
Zeb, have you got time for one other thing I can...
I've got exactly 1 minute left. Go real fast.
There's a family that's close to me. The husband just got back from being deployed in Iraq for 9 months. He's back home. His wife has had some health problems. He's back home, getting the home back together. Saturday night... So early Sunday morning, they're in a gated community in the state of California above a Marine base, Camp Pendleton, and their vehicles get busted into.
Oh, my.
In a gated community, the vehicles are parked outside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how common this is, but it hit home base here with me, and I'm a little boiled.
I don't blame you. Earl, I wish I had more time to talk about it, but I want you to call tomorrow. We're going to talk more about this. It seems like the God-loving Christian...
backs up what's going on in this country.
Absolutely. God-fearing Christian people are being pushed onto the back burner. I agree with you. Thanks, Earl. Got to run to the news, and I mean that literally. Run, run, run. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, we're off and running, coming down the stretch last hour, and in just a few moments we're going to have Dr. History. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. And along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Don't forget our dear friends at Greystone Crossing at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. What a wonderful place for seniors. I'm telling you, you better get over there and take a look at it, seniors. All you have to do to take a look, make an appointment, call the number 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Seniors, this is a beautiful, brand new 12-bedroom home, and they furnish 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping, local transportation. These are nice, nice people. Matt and Kelly Wiggin, 650-4979. Greystone Crossing Senior Living on 21st Street, just a mile east of Walmart. You give them a call today. All right, let's also mention to you our friends at 7K Metals. My, what a great place and a great way to save money and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. I'm talking about silver purchases through our friends at 7K Metals. Be sure and get a hold of Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259 and just say, what's this Zeb's telling about? 7K Metals, where people can build their own financial security and future through silver purchases, and they'll tell you all about it. 7K Metals, you tell them I told you to call. Lon Hardy and Sharon, be sure and give them a jingle today. 7K Metals. Right now, we're going to go to the other microphone right straight across the desk, and we have the smiling face of the man that has weathered the storm of all the history pages of every journal and every book. Here he is, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. What a wonderful day out there.
Oh, my.
It's nice. So you always ask if somebody needs a hello, and I'm going to say hello to Kenneth and Marilyn Call. Faithful listeners down in Utah, down in Orem area.
Kenneth Call?
That
name sounds so familiar. I know a Call family down there.
Okay, well, I doubt if this is the same ones, but it could be.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's who I want to say hi to today. And we're going to go back not quite as far in history as we usually do.
Okay, so we're going to get out of the 1800s.
Yes. But it's still about 100 years ago.
Oh.
So it's out there.
About the time you were born.
About the time I was born.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a guy by the name of Manny Gault. Gault.
Okay.
And he was a good friend and partner with Hamer, Frank Hamer, who was a Texas Ranger involved with Bonnie and Clyde.
Really?
Okay. Now, and for the listeners, if you go back to last year, March 26th of last year, I did a story on Frank Hamer. So this is kind of a continuance of Hamer and his partner, Manny Gault.
Okay. Gotcha.
So his name was Ben Manny Gault. He was born on June 21st, 1886 in Travis County, Texas. He began his career at a furniture manufacturing plant in Austin, where as a neighbor of Hamer's, he became involved in undercover moonshine investigations until he actually officially joined the Texas Rangers in 1929. Ooh. So, say, like almost 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, picture this. April 1st, 1934, 6'2" Frank Hamer was sitting cramped in his tiny Ford V8 automobile in a lonely riverside migrant camp near the West Dallas Viaduct. He was eating from a can of sardines and celebrating Easter Sunday alone.
On a hot day?
Yeah,
sardines?
Or this could have been the other way. Or maybe he had driven home to Austin and was having a home-cooked dinner on Riverside Drive with his wife and kids. We're not sure. But He was highly secretive. He was on a hunt for the natural-born killers, known as the Barrow Gang.
Oh,
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. So we don't know, and we'll never know, because part of Frank Hamer's success as a Texas Ranger and manhunter is that he was never willing to talk. He never told about a lot of the things he did. Now, what we do know is that on that Easter Sunday, 2 highway patrol officers were out on motorcycle patrol near Grapevine, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat relaxed on Easter morning, and these guys were kind of rookies. They weren't really very well trained. They came across a vehicle. It was parked on the side of the road, like as if it was having trouble, mechanic trouble. And they noticed that there was a tiny but well-dressed young man and a petite young female, and they were just kind of hanging around right there, and both kind of walked with gimpy legs, kind of like they had a limp of some kind, and they were kind of pacing. Well, the little red-haired girl was holding a white rabbit, an Easter bunny, and again, these officers kind of thought, okay, these people are having some mechanical problems. Well, nearby, there was a farmer by the name of William Schieffer who had been watching this young couple all afternoon, and he watched as this little white bunny hopped around and grazed and everything, and all of a sudden, he witnessed a huge, loud barrage of automatic gunfire.
Oh, boy.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom.
The little girl, quote, ran to a downed and dying young cop, fired a point-blank kill shot to his head with a sawed-off 20-gauge shotgun.
Oh, my.
And then, this is even a little more gross, there was laughter, and she said something like, "Y'all see that?" Kind of like, see what I just did?
Oh, my.
Now, this Officer Wheeler that got shot, he was 23 years old, first day assigned to a motorcycle patrol.
Oh, no.
He did not have shells in his shotgun because he was concerned that if he took a spill on the cycle that he might discharge his shotgun and hurt somebody. He was to be married 11 days later. I mean, just a sad deal. His fiancée wore her wedding gown to his funeral. Just a sad deal. But so this brutal double murder at Grapevine was a major turning point in the highly publicized pursuit of Barrow and Bonnie, or Bonnie and Clyde.
How did they meet?
Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But up until that Sunday, these self-promoting killers had been enjoying a lot of public fascination and almost a near worship, and it was fueled. Remember, this is during the Great Depression, so
they were kind of looked at as like a Robin Hood type thing.
Kind of heroes, yeah. But this brazen killing was also the urgent juncture at which Frank Hamer, a lone hunter from an earlier era, he came from the era of the horse and the Winchester. And he was born in the 1800s.
Cowboy.
Yeah. And he was looking for a partner to join him in the hunt for Bonnie and Clyde.
I see.
Now, Hamer specifically asked for a partner from the former Texas Rangers days, an old-school lawman he could count on, a former Ranger named B.M. Maney Galt. So that's the guy we're going to be talking a lot about, Maney Galt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Frank Hamer had known Maney Galt since the mid-1920s when they were neighbors in Austin. Galt had been a stock and dairy farmer until crashing milk prices forced him to find work in a sawmill. Regardless, he was a man after Hamer's own heart. Mm-hmm. He was loyal, he was modest, he was conservative, and perfectly unbreakable. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that meant by unbreakable, but must have been a pretty tough guy,
yeah.
I'm thinking. Now, Hamer appreciated the fact that Maney was from Travis County, pioneer family. Now, as neighbors in Riverside area of Austin, Hamer and Galt became tight, as did their wives, who they described as being feisty wives, Gladys and Rebecca.
Anybody named Gladys you never mess with.
You don't want to mess with it. Anyway, Manny might have been a cowman and a mill worker, but Hamer recognized in him the ability to blend in and talk his way through, his lack of fear, and the principal moral compass that Hamer valued above all else. He could also kick rear ends when needed.
It said that on the paper, too,
It said
didn't it?
kick rear ends on more than one occasion.
Yeah, betcha.
Hamer privately put his friend Maney underground during the rough and tumble days of Prohibition, illegal gambling, the lawless boomtowns like Mexia and Borger. Have you heard of those?
Yes.
Okay. So here we are. This is also during the time of the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression. It grew near. Private sector jobs dried up, even the sawmills. So Hamer offered his friend a job in the Texas Rangers. So the headquarters company hired him on. So Hamer and Galt now began to be a team together. And they worked really well together in this violent time of what they call the Jim Crow climate, when the African Americans men were a lot of times lynched without due process. Galt was likely among the handful of Rangers who stood with Hamer when he protected a black suspect from a lynch mob of 6,000 in Sherman, Texas. So, as a senior captain, Hamer was leading the fight in Texas against the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow.
So that took a lot of guts
tough guy
to step in that kind of a scenario, right?
Yeah, really.
Anyway, Hamer and Galt worked together so well as Rangers. So by April 14th, 1934, Frank and Maney were back together, this time as highway patrol officers. So now we're in the vehicle era.
No, they're not part of the Texas Rangers anymore?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. Well, sort of. I think we'll get to that. But anyway, so they shared the cramped space of Hamer's Ford, hunting down the notorious killers, Bonnie and Clyde. And like them, they slept in their car. They drove 500 or more miles a day and mostly lived on crackers and sardines.
Don't even mention sardines on a hot summer day. Yuck!
Now, it wasn't all that bad. According to the late Frank Jr., they took a guitar and a fiddle with them, along with some pretty modern firepower, which I haven't, an idea that means machine guns?
Yeah.
Probably?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So it was that. More than a month later, Hamer, Galt, and some other guys, a sheriff and his deputy, caught Barrow and Parker in their own pattern of running and put an end to this multi-state menace that had left 9 lawmen dead, 4 innocent civilians dead. So Bonnie and Clyde had killed 9 officers and 4 civilians. And, you know, as you think about them, it seemed like they just wanted to kill. I mean, for no real reason.
You know, have you seen the movies of Bonnie and Clyde? There's a lot of different versions about how that came down.
Yeah. But anyway, Manny Galt fired his share of rounds on that legendary, controversial, and much misunderstood morning.
Really?
To the very last moment, he was covering his friend Pancho in the silent aftermath when he was reported as yelling, quote, "Careful, Cap, they might be possuming it." In other words,
they were playing possum like they were dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's telling his buddy, be careful because, you know, they may still jump up and start shooting.
Yeah.
So anyway, soon after that, the Texas Rangers were reconstituted into a new state law enforcement agency called the Texas Department of Public Safety. And it can be argued that Hamer and Galt had saved the Rangers. And I think they're still called the Texas Rangers.
Well, now that leads me to an interesting point. Now, and I know you're probably going to think I'm sidetracked a little bit, but recently there's been a movement for the Texas Ranger baseball team to have their name changed because some of this cancel culture says, oh, the Texas Rangers were evil people in the 1880s.
Well, you know, there again, history is so vague depends on who you listen to.
Absolutely.
I mean, everything the stories I've done on the Texas Rangers, there's maybe a few bad guys, but for the most part, I mean, you take these 2 guys, Manny Galt and Frank Hamer.
They put their lives on the line.
They did. Now, there was an Austin newspaper ran a front page headline proclaiming Hamer Galt Hero Day is set. Okay, this was after all this. Citizens planned a testimonial dinner to be held for Frank and Maney on May 28th with a speech by the governor. Frank and Maney rejected any such celebration. Other than an interview given to a guy named Webb years later, Hamer only gave 1 interview at the time to a reporter he knew and trusted, and Galt gave none. They didn't talk about it. They didn't brag.
Were they the two main people that
Yes.
set up the stoppage of Bonnie and Clyde?
Yes. Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
How many were there that day?
I don't know. I'm thinking there was probably 6 or 8
At least.
altogether.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Galt, like I say, gave no interviews. And when rejected by Galt, one reporter described the former Ranger as cold-eyed, mysterious, and he doesn't talk. Now, here's another interesting thing. Hamer turned down a $10,000 offer to have a book written about him and major movie offers, including one from Tom Mix.
Really?
Who was a
cowboy star.
Yeah. But actually, he returned to his wife Gladys, and in his quiet and modest work in oil security, Galt, however, returned to the Texas Rangers, serving as sergeant in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, not long after the ambush of Barrow and Parker, Bonnie and Clyde, the bullet-pocked death car reappeared in public. A local carnival operator named Charles Stanley purchased this mangled, beat-up car from its original owners and took it on tour under his new billing as, quote, the crime doctor.
Yeah.
And for a time, he even had Barrow's and Parker's parents and other relatives on the road with him, making some cash after their
Wait a minute. The parents went along on this road show?
Yeah.
And talked about the killing of their kids?
Yeah. So
holy moly.
Now, here's where they come in again. There was an appearance in Austin as this guy showed off the death car. He presented some really gruesome slides of photos, and he spoke openly about Hamer's confidential sources. Two figures approached the packed house. Frank Hamer and Manny Galt came up on the stage and confronted this guy. With Galt on one side, Hamer slapped Stanley in the head and confiscated his slides and threatened him with more serious action if he continued the sideshow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just slapped the heck out of this carnival guy.
The heck?
Yeah.
You say?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Heck I say. Well, within 5 years, Manny Galt was promoted to captain of C Company in Lubbock. His territory covered some 94 counties in West Texas, extending from the Panhandle to the Rio Grande. During the 10 years he served as captain, Galt solved many cases involving murder, bank robbery, and cattle rustling. Some say that Galt was a dogged lawman to the detriment of his own health.
You know, I need to ask you something right there. Did you notice, and I know you have with all the stories that you've had on Dr. History, about lawlessness and criminals and about the James Gang and others, after they were shot and killed, they'd post them out in front of the public in boxes or whatever.
Right.
They did the same with Bonnie and Clyde, didn't they?
There were some pictures, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I believe
thought.
you're right.
Yeah.
But like I say, he worked so hard that it got to his health. And at age 61, he was still working on an unsolved murder when he got sick, and he actually died December 4th, 1947 in Austin. Hamer, his past buddy, eulogized him as a, quote, 23-carat fellow,
Really?
which I assume that just means just an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And he was as loyal a man as there ever could be. Never a better man or truer friend than Manny Galt.
Wasn't there the day that Bonnie and Clyde were shot and taken out of commission? Give us the circumstances. Wasn't there somebody in the gang, the Barrow and Parker gang, that had tipped off the police as to the route where they were going to be going that day?
You know, I would need to do some research on that, because I didn't really look into.
But they were set up in an ambush situation.
Somehow, I believe they were of some kind. They knew where they would be.
Yeah.
You know, but while historical information on Galt is kind of sparse, a story about an oil boomtown that once requested the Texas Ranger Service, and some guy came into this town and just terrorized people. The Rangers sent one guy, Manny Galt, to deal with this whole group. The gang leader was inside a barn, so after clearing it of civilians, you hear all this crashing and banging and everything, and then Manny comes out holding the guy by the back of the shirt, just kicking him in the posterior all the way down the street.
Mm-hmm.
That's
in the posterior.
Posterior, yes,
I see.
Yes, that's what it says right here. So, And it should be pointed out that during the pursuit of Bonnie and Clyde, Frank Hamer wanted one man and one man only, and that was Hamer. And that's who he personally wanted with him.
Really?
So Captain Manny Galt should also go down in history as one of the reluctant heroes of the day and one of the greatest Texas Rangers of all time. And I'm going to bet people have probably heard of Frank Hamer, but I'm going to say, now hopefully some of our Texas listeners might say, oh yeah, we know Manny Galt and we know about him.
Yeah.
So
how big an area? Now, I'm trying to remember. I've read stories about this. Did Bonnie and Clyde terrorize? Was it Oklahoma and Texas? Was it how many states? Was it also neighboring states too?
You know, I think it was, because just going by memory, it seems like they would outrun the police and get into go past the state line to another state. And I probably should do a story on them, I guess.
I think what would be interesting is to find out the network of people that they were involved in.
Yeah.
And they had quite a few people that protected them, too.
Oh, yeah. They were kind of the Robin Hood, you know, and the people kind of liked the fact that they were stealing from the rich, I guess, or, you know, robbing banks and whatever it was they did. But, you know, you cannot excuse killing police officers and civilians. I mean, they had to be a pretty ruthless.
They ended up getting what they deserved.
They did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. And like I say, I just can't say enough about these Texas Rangers.
I'm trying to remember the stars of the movie. It was Faye Dunaway. And I forgot the guy's name. Oh, my goodness sakes. I'll think of it in just a minute. The actor that played... oh, my goodness. There's a good trivia question. I forgot his name. Faye Dunaway played the part of Bonnie.
Yes.
And you can't find the other one. And I'll think of it the minute you get up out of the chair and leave.
I've got it here.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay, well, you look it up, and I'll tell everybody.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, was it called The Highwayman? Is that the name of the movie?
I'm not sure what version you're looking at.
Yeah. So, Woody Harrelson played the part of Manny Galt, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember who played the part of
Clyde.
Frank.
I'm talking about Bonnie and Clyde.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure who they were.
Anyway, there you go. Great story. Let's do a follow-up on that. For some reason, I think that their reign of terror spread up into the Midwest. And for some reason, I think that I remember one of my grandfathers telling me something about they went into Illinois and maybe even southern Wisconsin. So check on that, would you?
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate that. All right, Dr. History, you've done it again.
Well, what can I say? This has been a fun story. You know, and folks, if you have any corrections, please just go to my webpage, dr-history.com, and because I don't always pronounce things right or get everything, and I appreciate the listeners that have sent me suggestions for stories.
Absolutely. And you can hear him every Tuesday right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Thank you, Dr. History.
Or on iTunes. You can catch me there.
There you go. Yeah. And that's better than Looney Tunes.
Sometimes.
Hey, don't forget our dear friends Jeff and the crew over at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. And, of course, they are located at 459 Overland in Burley, and they're having an absolutely fun event called the Sensational Flooring Event. Oh, my goodness, all the carpet and all the luxury vinyl for the beautification and the comfortization of your home at prices that you cannot afford to pass up. 3 different prices for the flooring and the carpet, and that will fit your price range. You better get in there today and check it out. All the carpeting, all the luxury vinyl, everything for your home, all the furniture, everything for your living quarters to improve your lifestyle at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today. We're going to send it back over to our main studio. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 more, or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, my goodness. We've had a good morning so far. Thank you for all your kind calls and comments and great guests. And we're going to continue on with that trend right now as we welcome to the program a decorated Marine, holistic neurological chiropractor, and that's Dr. Cordy Williams. Good morning, Cordy. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Well, if I was any better, the wrong fat man be wearing my clothes this morning. Nice to have you on the program.
I love that. I've never heard that before. I'm going to use that if that's not copyrighted.
No, it's not copyrighted. It just comes out of my big old fat mouth. It just kind of runs out every now and then. Listen, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Great. Well, I'm definitely on the right radio program this morning. I love it.
All right, I appreciate it. Sir, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the subject matter at hand.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a father of two, 40 years old, former Marine. I'm a doctor, and, I used to lead people towards health, and now I lead people towards the Constitution. I'm still actively in practice, but with this craziness going on, I got to be honest, like a lot of Americans out there and some of your viewers, I'm really just concerned about the future that my 4-year-old and my 18-month-old have.
You know, I am so blessed to have you on the program this morning, and Sean over at the station. If you'd watch that feedback, roll it back just a little bit, I'd appreciate it. We are seeing a severe change in the structure of America. We're seeing the Democrats trying to lead up to the November election with what they want to do as far as changes in a progressive America, a transformation of America. I'm just like you with my grandsons. I'm very concerned that the America that I've known and loved is going to be gone after November. Is that too harsh, or do you agree with me?
No, if Donald Trump doesn't win, I think that's the reality. I really do, because there's such a socialist communist agenda before us, and it's not really about the ideals of representing all Americans. It's representing a few Americans, right? That 49 or 50% that is kind of gone off their rocker, right? The thing I think that we all have to agree about, people that are of a constitutional nature. I'm a Trump guy, but I'm ashamed to say that I voted for Obama for 2 terms, and I've been a guy that's always really voted in the direction of what I thought the country needed. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I just don't think that's happening anymore. I think people are voting about what sounds sexy and what sounds good instead of what's based in reality and truth. And the first wake-up signs that I think I got over the last 20 years, I guess, and after my service in the Marine Corps, I voted for Bush. I somewhat liked Clinton. But, I just look at the way that the country is gone and the direction that it's gone. I mean, I'm appalled to see that people are kneeling for the national anthem, they're kneeling for the flag, and then they have the audacity to say that they're not offending centuries and decades of veterans that have fought for the country, and that there's no symbolism in the flag. Well, if that's the case, tell that to all the mothers of the flag-draped coffins who then get that flag folded into a triangle and handed to them, and the president or the commander or the CEO says, on behalf of a proud and grateful nation, we commend you for your son or daughter's service on behalf of the President of the United States. That's the gist of what they say when there's a fallen Marine, a fallen soldier, a fallen airman, a fallen sailor. So I think that for me, that was the real turning point of like, oh my God, we are really, really facing some spiritual combat, some political combat now, of the likes of which we've never seen before.
Well, let's break this down a little bit and talk, first of all, about a subject that you mentioned in that last paragraph, if you will, and that's sports. I absolutely have been a sports nut all my life, whether it's the NFL, college football, NBA, Major League Baseball, whatever. And right now we're seeing overpaid prima donnas that have taken to the political scene just basically to help line their pockets even further with the promotion and acceptance of a Marxist communist group called Black Lives Matter, to the point where the NBA is going to have that logo on their basketball courts. To me, that's disgusting and should never happen. What are your thoughts?
Totally agree. I can't say it on the air because I don't want to offend any of your viewers, but I have a list of profane adjectives that I could use to describe how angry it makes me. And it's pathetic and it's disgusting. And when did being American and when did bleeding red, white, and blue, when did that become uncool? Like, how sad, what a travesty that people like Drew Brees walk back their comments and stick their head between their legs. What a travesty. Like, where are the men? Where are the honorable men of character and ethics that stand up for what's right, that stand up for the guy that's got one leg and one arm that's in a wheelchair because he went over an IED? Or the people I see in my office that they saw their best friends turned into dust because of a mortar round that's fired right next to them. And then they live through that. Imagine what those guys are feeling when they see all this BS, and that's exactly what it is, around the country happening. Is there racial divisiveness in our country? Of course there is. We're an imperfect country. We are an imperfect country. Our founders said, let's bridge the gap and create this imperfect union. They didn't say it was going to be perfect. They weren't perfect. But to say that we're going to erase history, we're going to erase where we came from. So many out there are saying, and I agree with it, sir, it's that when you erase history, bad or good, you increase the likelihood that the mistakes of the past will happen again because there are no reminders. And right now, there's a host of the country, 50% of the country, is heading towards a furnace, and that furnace doesn't say Auschwitz. It says socialism and communism.
That's exactly right. Let me throw this at you, Cordy. I'm sure you're aware, and again, that feedback problem there, Sean, if you would. The NBA has their uniforms made over in China for Nike with sweatshop operations and basically slave labor. And these same brain geniuses with the NBA are coming out and saying, as part of the cancel culture, that all the Confederate heroes, Robert E. Lee, etc., even to Abraham Lincoln, their statues should be torn down. But at the same time, these NBA players are advocating slave labor for their uniforms to help pad the pockets of the NBA. What are your thoughts?
You know, it's sickening. It's just another level of hypocrisy. I mean, if people would just take a minute to turn off the fear porn / hashtag fake news, and they would ask critical questions, because, I think the biggest thing, sir, that we've been taught not to do is critically think anymore.
I agree.
Ask questions.
I agree.
There's so many Americans out there that are spoon-fed whatever narrative. They don't even actually know what their own opinion is about anything anymore because they've let the propaganda of the fake news, pure porn media control that. And even with people wearing facial condoms, right, or masks, as I affectionately call them, because, this is the most intelligent virus in the world. It really is. In epidemiological history, this is the most intelligent virus in the world because it never comes at you when you're aborting a fetus in an abortion clinic. It doesn't come at you when you're buying alcohol or at a weed dispensary. And it certainly doesn't come at you when you're at a Black Lives Matter protest throwing Molotov cocktails in a business to blow it up or burn it up. But it'll always come to you when you're at a Donald J. Trump rally. It's fascinating. It's the smartest virus in the world. And I think that type of gobble up, mindless following, almost that sheep-like following, is a good indication that people don't critically think anymore. They don't ask any questions. And so that's what I would say regarding the Black Lives Matter and putting stuff on your uniform. And, the sweatshop's okay, but, of course, if it says America made on it, it's not. I don't really have any comments about the Confederate flag, per se. And the reason I don't, I was listening to the governor of, I think, Mississippi yesterday. I think it was on Fox News, talk about why they banned the Confederate flag. And honestly, I don't really know where I stand on that. The past is the past. The big general thing I would say is, the past is the past. Let's learn from it. Let's remember it. And I think those people that were honored from the Civil War were not honored because of the divisive thoughts that they had for their country. They were honored by being named Fort whatever or Camp whatever. Or they weren't honored because they were racist or because they were for the South. They were honored because they fought for the country.
That's absolutely true.
50% of the country
yes.
had a different ideology.
Yes.
And some of them died for the country. And so, to me as an American, my first thought, and maybe it's because my skin color is white, I don't know, but I look at all these different names of these different statues. I mean, why do people out there honor Margaret Sanger when she killed thousands of babies, aborted thousands of babies, and she's remembered and glorified by some people? But yet a Confederate general that fought and died for his country, I'm not saying his viewpoints were right. He still fought and died for his country and what he believed. There's some honor in that.
Cordy, one of the issues that I've said many times on my program, and I want to get your response on this, is that our family values and our churches have not done the job. I point the finger at the pulpit. I point my finger at ministers and church leaders for being too milquetoast and, quite frankly, cowards for not coming out and speaking about the social ills in this country and the destruction of America. Would you agree or disagree with me on that?
100%. 100%. And I said it exactly in those ways. I characterized it the exact same way. If you're a pastor right now, and from the beginning of this, you haven't been standing up, I'm not going to go to your church. And what you're doing is you're watering down. It's just like the ideas like the Old Testament. And I'm a New Testament guy. I believe in grace, and I'm not here to impress my Christian views on anybody. I just try to live the best life I can and love on people. And it doesn't matter whether they're gay, straight, transgender, brown, blue, purple. I mean, I don't care. I've been taught to love everybody, and that's what the book of Matthew says. And I'm not here to preach right now either, but what I can tell you is for a pastor to not see that there's a slow transition into communism and socialism and the loss of the First Amendment, just like the left wants to take away the Second Amendment, they're not going to go straight up because they know there's freedom fighters like you and me that would have their Glock 19 or their AR-15 ready. They're not going to come straight at the Second Amendment. The way they're going to do it is in the guises of a pandemic. They're going to go around and tell you that if you go to church and you sing, that you're going to infect a huge population of people in that church, but yet you can throw a Molotov cocktail into a burning building and riot for days on end in Portland, and that's okay. So, yeah, I totally think if you're not standing up as a pastor, I mean, my wife and I have quit going to my church that's in San Marcos, California, because of that very reason. They're like, oh, well, you can wear a mask, walk into your chair, and then you can sit down. No, because every time you wear a mask, what your viewers need to understand is they're saying it's okay. They're acquiescing, and they're making the narrative stronger that it's okay that our constitutional freedoms are infringed upon.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. This next fall, coming up in 105 days, we're going to, in my opinion, Cordy, have the most important election of America's history ever. We could go the wrong way with Biden and his puppets and his puppeteers, and with energy programs and social programs that will absolutely bankrupt America and possibly imprison all of us, or we can go on the path of trying to get things straight, a better economy, better security. How serious is this election to you in November?
It's really serious. It's really serious. It's really important. It's really serious. And the reason why it is, not just for the, anymore, it's not a political conversation. It's a moral and ethical conversation.
Right.
It's like Dinesh D'Souza talks about the 3 megaphones, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
They control the media, they control Hollywood, they control education. So when it becomes okay that one segment of the country is honored, and that segment of the country is funded by George Soros, and that money is going to the Democratic Party, and that segment of the country is vilifying and creating divisiveness based upon the color of your skin, and yet we don't honor the flag anymore, we don't honor patriots anymore, and we vilify the police, the fabric and social structure of character, ethics, and morality in our country is on the brink of destruction.
Absolutely.
And that's what November 4th is all about. And that's why, November 3rd, excuse me, that's why all the patriots out there and all the people that are that silent majority, whether they're 90 years old, whether they're, 18, those people need to get out in droves. They need to drive as far as they can and vote in person. Because I know in California, Adolf Newsom is trying to do this mail-in ballot BS, and they're all doing it. He's doing it so they can steal that election. And once they steal it, it's like I think Kevin McCarthy said the other day. I think if we don't win this one, I mean, who knows what could happen.
Absolutely.
I firmly believe they could try to stay in power forever.
Absolutely.
I think that's their motive.
One final thought, one final segment of our society that I want you to comment on before you go, and that's our education system. Whether it's elementary, kindergarten, all the way through the high school ranks, into the collegiate ranks, I think we need to have a revamping and a re-pride in America. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree. They're talking about in schools now in San Diego County, and I don't mean to be, I'm going to use the proper term, but literally it's okay now 5th and 6th graders to talk to them about oral and anal sex. I have a problem with that. I have a problem when school teachers are coming in and at assemblies without telling the parents they're talking about transgender switchovers at school assemblies, and they're condoning that to all the kids and saying that's okay. And I'm not here to be controversial about that, but if you're going to talk about that, like as a parent, I want to be asked before that's even addressed.
Absolutely.
Maybe I don't want my kids to hear that. Maybe I want to keep them, away from school that day, and I should have the right and choice to do that. And so I think that very liberal narrative and this one-way narrative about history, I mean, even history books are changing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a real problem, and I think if Republicans don't get really serious about trying to steer the 3 megaphones in a different direction and have influence on those 3 megaphones of education, media, and Hollywood, I think we're in big trouble.
We've got time for one quick call. Caller, quickly. I've got 1 minute left exactly. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, well, you wonder if the people of California, if there's enough people there that have enough wherewithal or are informed or proactive enough to do something. What's going on down there is just sickening. And then what you just said about the schools, we know it's happening, and then you forget about it, and then you're reminded of it just like you just did. And I'm going, I just don't know how we save ourselves without the American people standing up for truth and right. And you wonder if they even care about truth and right.
I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, Cordy, if you would, please.
Yeah, I would love to. First of all, sir, I appreciate your question, your comment, your statement. What I would say is there's a lot of people out there that care, and what we need to do, to your point, is people need to constantly be reminded of what's not working, and they have to be almost motivated to fight. Because right now, everybody wants to fight. But when it gets back to everybody's holding hands, so to speak, and I say that sarcastically, obviously, and we go back to work more and they open it up and they tell us when we can breathe again and when we can think again, when that happens before the next pandemic happens later on, during that time, what it's going to take is good patriots like you, sir, that just called in. It's going to take you getting on board with your time and your money and your energy as much as you can. And that's why I started 1776 Forever Free with my business partner, Chris Lippy. And we are backing candidates with our money. We're doing rallies all around the country. I'm going out of pocket because I'm not going to be backed up against the wall again and told that I don't have any rights. And I'm like actively getting in the fight. So for all your viewers out there, what I would just say is get involved. Go to 1776foreverfree.com. You can make a donation. You can buy a $29 T-shirt. We are launching the Freedom Tour USA.com. That website will be complete in the next day and a half. There's an Instagram page and Facebook page going up. The Freedom Tour USA.com. We're starting off in Huntington Beach on August 15th. Then we're going to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Then we're heading down to Palm Beach, Florida, and Missouri after that. And then we're going to finish up in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks before the election, or a couple of days before the election, on October 17th at the Lincoln Memorial.
Wow.
Join our movement. I'll have more information out about that. And that's what you guys can do to get involved. And once COVID's over, or when they allow us to breathe again, 1776 will be marching strong to stick up for your rights and fight for you guys.
Absolutely. 1776foreverfree.com. Dr. Cordy Williams, thank you for being on the program. And there's only one thing you have to promise, and that's you'll come back in the future.
I would love to. It's an honor, sir. Thank you for what you're doing for freedom and Semper Fi.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to have him back. You can bet on that. A great individual, Dr. Cordy Williams, and I thank him for coming on the program. Remember, 1776foreverfree.com. Check it out. Right now, I'm late. Sean's going, oh, Zebber, you better hurry up. We got to get the weather forecast on here. And the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The telephone number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to the website, scarrowsmeats.com. Check it out. All the delicious meats for all the different occasions. Company picnic, family gathering, whatever. They've got all the hams and the pork products and the bacon, different flavors, and the tri-tips. Oh, it's delicious. All the bratwurst. You're going to love the meats from Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another warm day, and then we're going to be into a fire weather watch. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies and a high of 92 is what we're looking at. A little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight mostly clear with a low of 61. For tomorrow and for Thursday, we are going to be in a red flag warning and a fire weather watch as we do have some late afternoon and early evening rain showers and thunderstorms. Partly sunny skies for tomorrow, expecting a high of 90 with an overnight low of 60. Then for Thursday, looks like mostly sunny skies. Still a slight chance of some late afternoon thunderstorms, high of 90 with an overnight low of 57. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's what's your weather for Zeb.
Thank you, Gina. And brought to everybody again by Don Scarrow and his outstanding operation called Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. By the way, our big thanks go out to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. They are our major sponsor. We thank them for all that they do. They've got the best in tires for all your driving needs. Are you leaving on a trip? Are you leaving to go to California? Are you leaving to go back east? By golly, make sure you've got the best in tires. And these folks really know tires. The best of all the tread designs, all the sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs, everything you need tires for, they've got them. And the best of service. Stop in and see them today. And don't forget, they also provide the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. These are good folks, knowledgeable folks that want to make sure that you drive safely. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. We're late. The way things were are the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to us: in God we trust. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Have a great day. Stay cool. Drink a lot of water or whatever. Have a good day.